It's 9 o'clock. Welcome to our continuing coverage of President Trump's D.C. takeover. I'm producer Chris, and if this is your first time joining us here live on Fox Local or on Fox 5 DC's YouTube page, basically what we're doing each night is recapping some of the major developments in this ongoing story. This is a 30-day federal takeover of the city's police force and a federal show of force involving federal agents and National Guard troops. I'm also going to share some highlights of Fox 5's coverage from throughout the day. And the major development today, and there have been several, but the major development today is the federal investigation into the city's police department. You may remember last night we showed you the president's tweet. It was a Truth Social post is what it actually was. We showed it to you last night right here. He accused DC of faking the numbers, the crime stats, to make the city seem safer than it is. DC gave fake crime numbers in order to create a false illusion of safety. This is a very bad and dangerous thing to do, and they are under serious investigation for doing so. So he kind of tipped us off to this last night. Until 4 days ago, Washington, D.C. was the most unsafe city in the United States and perhaps the world. Now, in just a short period of time, it is perhaps the safest and getting better every single hour. People are flocking to DC again, and soon the beautification will begin. Now, let's talk about the DC police investigation some more. Today, we learned the Department of Justice has officially opened an investigation into whether officers falsified crime data. Of course, this investigation comes amid the escalating political showdown between President Trump, the Trump administration, and city leaders here in D.C. over control of the Metropolitan Police Department. Last week, remember, Attorney General Pam Bondi attempted to install the head of the DEA, Terry Cole, as emergency police commissioner. Essentially, that would have stripped Chief Pamela Smith of her power over the police department. The next day, the city's Attorney General, Brian Schwab, he filed a lawsuit, a temporary restraining order request, claiming that move was an overreach by the Trump administration and infringed on the city's right to home rule. A judge agreed. They won that lawsuit. They came to an agreement with the Department of Justice. Pamela Smith maintains control of the DC Police Department. However, the crime data has been at the center of a major dispute between city leaders and the White House. President Trump claimed violent crime in D.C. was among the worst in not only the nation but the world. We just showed you that Truth Social post. He said it was getting even worse, and that was why he ordered a federal takeover of the city's police department. That is what he did last Monday. He also flooded the streets with hundreds of federal agents and National Guard members, and that is what we have seen over the past week and change, about 7 to 8 days. But the official numbers from the city show crime rates have fallen to 30-year lows in the city in recent years, especially since the pandemic. So far, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser has not commented on the DOJ investigation that we learned about today. But according to Fox 5's Tom Fitzgerald, though, despite the DOJ investigation, the debate over the accuracy of the crime data is not actually new. Let's take you to a live picture of Capitol Hill now. You see the Capitol building right there. Republicans on the House Oversight Committee have apparently called the crime data into question in congressional hearings before. DC's police department itself is investigating one of its own officials for allegedly altering charges to make crime reports appear more favorable. Now, the DC Police Department has not commented on that, but some police sources Tom talked to are questioning the White House data. So we want to get to the latest numbers from the Trump administration, and to do that, we're going to head back to X and the Attorney General. You see what she posted earlier today. Attorney General Pam Bondi, at the direction of the President of the United States, our nation's capital is a safer place, and we are just getting started. 52 arrests were made last night, including an MS-13 gang member. 9 firearms were taken off the street. Since our mission began, there have been a total of 465 arrests 68 guns seized. She went on to say nearly half of those arrests occurred in the high crime areas of D.C. Residents and tourists alike appreciate this extraordinary effort by our D.C. and federal law enforcement partners. That's what that post on X went on to say. It got a little cut off on our graphic here. Now, in a separate post that echoed the same sentiment, FBI Director Kash Patel saying the FBI responsible for 21 more arrests. They were the FBI alone in Washington, D.C. last night, August 18th to 19th. 4 gun recoveries, 6 drug seizures, charges including felony assault, larceny, drug offenses, assault on officer, and more. Federal partners have arrested over 450 individuals since this operation began. The work continues. Now, the White House press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, she also weighed in on all of these efforts, all of these arrests, where this enforcement is happening during today's White House daily briefing, and I want to take you to that now.
In other news, on the home front, President Trump's efforts to make D.C. safe again are working. There have been a total of 465 arrests since the start of this operation on Thursday, August 7th. Last night, there were a total of 52 arrests, including the arrest of an illegal alien MS-13 gang member with convictions for DWI and drug possession. Thanks to President Trump's leadership and the outstanding work of both federal and local law enforcement, dangerous gang members like the one picked up last night will not be allowed on the streets of our nation's capital. Other arrests last night included assault with a deadly weapon for stabbing, parole violation for robbery, murder, outstanding warrant for attempted murder, assault on federal law enforcement officer, and felony assault. 4 more homeless encampments were also removed during yesterday's reporting period. To date, a total of 48 homeless encampments have been cleared in Washington, D.C. by multi-agency teams. MPD patrol units are actively working with city officials to locate and clear additional encampments and remove homeless residents off of Washington's streets. And despite fake narratives from the media, again, a significant number of the arrests have been in high crime areas of D.C. In fact, nearly half of all of the non-illegal alien-related arrests have occurred in wards 7 and 8, the 2 wards that have the highest number of violent crime, as well as homicides and assaults with dangerous weapons last year. So while Democrats continue to coddle violent criminals, President Trump and this administration are focused on putting them behind bars and unapologetically standing up for the safety of law-abiding American citizens. And the White House will continue to provide all of you with the results of this operation in the days ahead. So with that, I will take your questions today here in our new media seat today. We have
all right, so that was Karoline Leavitt at the White House today during her prepared remarks. A little later, she went back to this topic during the Q&A portion with some reporters, and she clarified for one of them what the president meant when he referred to D.C.'s slums. I want you to take a listen to that next.
Caroline, 3 questions about the D.C. crackdown.
Sure.
First, I was wondering if you could clarify something President Trump said. He mentioned getting rid of the slums where criminals live. Was he talking about tents or permanent residential buildings? And then the mayor has expressed an interest in clarifying how much of a focus illegal immigration enforcement is as part of this crackdown. Can you say anything about that?
Sure.
And third, any preview on the beautification?
3 questions. I'll try to answer all 3 of them pointedly for you. First, when it comes to what you said, and the president said, the slums of Washington, D.C., he's referring to the most dangerous communities, neighborhoods, and streets in the city where, unfortunately, violence has ravaged these communities and taken the lives of, again, far too many law-abiding D.C. residents. We know on July 5th of this year, just more than a month ago, a 3-year-old beautiful young girl was shot and killed in her car with her family in one of these communities, which is why there has been a surge, despite what many of you have been falsely reporting. And I believe it was the Washington Post who put out a map claiming it to be fact-based when it was just based on, I don't know, accounts that they've heard on the street, not actual statistics and data. So we went and reconfigured the numbers, and as I said, nearly half of all the non-illegal alien-related arrests have occurred in wards 7 and 8 in the District of Columbia, where we know, excuse me, there's the highest rate of of crime. So we'll continue to do that. And what was your second question, Stephen?
Legal immigration, how much of a focus that is?
Yeah, look, I mean, the focus is to make D.C. safe and beautiful and to remove public safety threats and violent criminals from our streets. If federal law enforcement, with the help of the Metropolitan Police Department, come across illegal aliens, of course, we are going to abide by this administration's policy of law and order, and we are going to remove illegal criminals from our nation's capital. They will be detained and deported, just like they are in every other community across the country. Kristen.
All right, so that was from today's White House press briefing with Carolyn Levitt. You heard her mention the 3-year-old shot and killed here in D.C. That was Honesty Cheadle. That happened back on July 5th, the actual shooting. She passed away on July 7th. You can learn much more about that on our website, fox5dc.com. Now, following that press briefing at the White House, today on the DMV Zone, Fox 5's Marina Morocco actually got a chance to talk to a reporter from Axios all about the White House numbers and kind of how they could compare to DC's crime numbers, to DC's enforcement efforts before this federal surge started. I want you to take a listen to that now.
Janae Dill from Axios. Janae, good to see you. We were just listening to the press secretary, Caroline Levitt, from the White House today, saying that most of those arrests happening in Ward 7 and Ward 8. What do we know at this hour?
Yeah, the data that the White House has shared with Axios is that 48% of the arrests made non-immigration related arrests. These are arrests of violent crime, that sort of thing on the streets of D.C. 48% took place in Ward 7 and 8 since August 8th. And this is the White House responding to people saying, look, are these federal agents actually going into the most high crime areas? Are they actually patrolling the places where D.C. residents have long been impacted by crime? And Ward 7 and 8 are one of those areas, as we all know, locally. And so the White House says now that they have made 48% of those arrests in those areas. We don't know the breakdown between MPD arrests versus this new enhanced federal presence, but this is what they're saying now, and it's a very evolving situation, as you know. So this is the first bit of data we're getting about the most high crime areas of Washington.
Yeah, look, we've both been on the street many, many times. We know we have seen homicide spates come and go throughout the mayor's administration. And I've heard this talking point time and time again in the last decade. Get the guns off the street. That has been a main principle of local D.C. politics. The Fed's saying they've recovered in a week 68 guns. How does that compare to what's been done previously? To the main point being that this has been a huge talking point of local politics for as long as I've been around.
Well, exactly. That's a great point. And some of this is hard to provide the right context that we want because, frankly, the MPD and the mayor's office are not giving great data about the average number of arrests they make usually. But you talked about gun seizures. There were 68 illegal guns seized since Trump took over the police department. And it's a little interesting. Apparently, MPD alone got 50 guns in a similar week in June. In July, they got 60 guns, so maybe a little bit more, but not something like double or anything like that in terms of illegal gun seizures. But we're looking at arrests as well. There were 101 arrests in Ward 7 and 8, and that's something we want to compare to historical data as well.
Yeah, and it seems as though people on warrants for homicide, also attempted homicide, gang members a part of this, and we know that a lot of crime is linked to the collective activity of these gangs. Anything else to glean from what we're hearing from the Fed? And is MPD at this point putting out any information, or are they directing all media to the feds?
Listen, I got a gripe with MPD. If they're listening, please tell me what is your average arrest data so we can get the story straight on, you know, how much is the White House impacting the arrests versus what MPD usually does. But I'll tell you, the White House has told us they have 24 gun-related charges in Ward 8 since this crackdown, 11 in Ward 7. That's just a sample of some of the charges. And 31 narcotics-related charges, 7 DUIs and 2 assaults. And Ward 7 and 8 as well since August 8th. So this is some of the data we're working with when we're trying to find out more, though.
Yeah, it seems as though there's two stories, and there always has been from the prior to this takeover, right, with the statistics as to the stats say one thing, people anecdotally are saying they feel some kind of way about safety, and now we're into this federal takeover. The stats are saying, again, one story, and you hear people saying they're not in these crime-ridden areas, they're not in the hot spots, they're on U Street, they're in Georgetown. So many videos flooding social media of federal agents, either undercover in plain clothes, ICE agents, in neighborhoods that are not so-called crime hotspots, yet the data is saying differently.
Exactly. So like the National Guard, the White House position is that they're not there to make arrests, at least not as of now, but they're in high traffic areas to potentially deter any crime. But at the same time, that's what's kind of dominating a lot of the images and what people are seeing. Perhaps they're seeing guards in Georgetown, or they're seeing masked officers arresting people on the street, and you're wondering, are these really the high crime areas that the city has long struggled with? So you're right on that, and with more National Guardsmen coming in, we're just going to have to see how this exactly escalates and where the arrests are continuing to be made.
Yeah, and I think it'd be beneficial for the city to come out with their data, to your point, to compare and just be transparent. Maybe it is working, and but don't hold back or gatekeep some information that would be context, at least would help everyone in this point. There's a possibility this continues past these 30 days. For how much longer is the bigger question. I'll wait and see here, Junaid. I know you'll stay on top of it, and we hope to have you back when we get some answers, us here at Fox 5 as well.
Thanks.
All right, so that was from the DMV zone today at 3 o'clock, Marina Morocco. The other big development today, more National Guard members arriving here in D.C. from some states nearby and further south. And now they're actually patrolling Metro. We're going to hear from Homa Bash all about that coming up in just a little bit. First, though, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. All right, welcome back to our continuing coverage of President Trump's takeover of Washington, D.C. This is our ongoing coverage of all the new developments over the course of the day. I did want to get to some of the YouTube comments as they come in because I appreciate you guys watching and weighing in. Right now, BV says, I don't know if I like you, and she's referring to me, and that's fair. Just doing a great job. Everything he's doing for Americans And in your voice, it sounds like you are disdaining him. BV goes on to say, Trump, Trump, President Donald Trump. It's just my voice. I don't know what else to tell you. Kyle Bayer says, open door DC. Thank you to everyone who is weighing in on YouTube currently. Keep the comments coming. I will try to respond to them as much as possible. In the meantime, we do want to get to some of the other major developments today. We've already talked about the DOJ investigation into the MPD. The other big development today, we learned those National Guard reinforcements from West Virginia, South Carolina, Mississippi, and Louisiana have all begun arriving in D.C. Now, this is in addition to the 800 plus D.C. National Guard members that were deployed to the streets as a visible deterrent earlier. And if you ride Metro, honestly, you may have seen some of those National Guard troops earlier today because they have started patrolling the city's transit station. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Thank you. All right, thanks for hanging with me. We're just tracking some potential breaking news. I'll bring you that as we have more details. Now, in the meantime, I was just talking about the National Guard presence on Metro, working with WMATA Transit Police patrolling the city's subway stations. Now, this comes despite the fact that WMATA's own stats show crime is at a 7-year low. Fox 5's Homa Bash has more on this, and she talked to some transit riders.
Guys, good evening. We saw a smattering of soldiers here walking side by side with Metro Transit Police at L'Enfant Plaza. It's one of the 10 that they're focusing this expanded enforcement on. Reaction from riders has been really mixed. Some people appreciate the extra security. Others say this is all too much.
Oh, I hate it.
Why?
I hate it because I feel like we're being over-policed. I don't feel like I've been out here for about 7 years now. I haven't experienced a lot of issues. I haven't seen any problems. Obviously, things happen. It's a city, so I'm not saying there's no crime at all, but to the point where you need to deploy the National Guard, I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
Look at my hat.
Happy to see it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you got crime, you need police, you need extra protection out there. I don't have a problem with it.
I love the National Guard. I think our military is amazing, whether it's active duty, National Guard, whatever. The issue, though, is that they have a mission set, and that mission set is not to be in metros. It is to be actually part of their own home station, whatever state they're in, making sure that that stays safe.
Now, here's the list of the 10 stations I'm told the Guard are focusing on today. Foggy Bottom, Smithsonian, Eastern Market, Stadium Armory, Waterfront, McPherson Square, Gallery Place, Metro Center, Noma, and here at L'Enfant Plaza. According to Metro Transit Police crime stats, July 2024 saw 115 crimes like aggravated assault, robbery, and larceny. July 2025, meanwhile, saw a dramatic decrease, 65 crimes reported. This is across the entire system, by the way, including bus and rail. And Metro says the crime rate is at a 7-year low. Right now, the Guard have about 896 soldiers and airmen mobilized across D.C. Republican governors from West Virginia, Ohio, Tennessee, South Carolina, Mississippi, and Louisiana are also deploying up to 1,000 troops to help with security as part of the Trump administration's crime crackdown here in the district. I spoke with one man visiting from the U.K. who said he did not mind the extra boots on the ground and actually found them very helpful.
Well, I mean, it's very safe. I haven't, come in, straight off easily. And honestly, when we got here, we needed some help on where to go. And the first person we saw was the National Guard, and he was super helpful and very polite. So can't really complain.
Now, as a reminder, the National Guard are not making arrests. They're just meant to be this visible presence to serve as a deterrent to any kind of crime. Metro Transit Police telling me that they're appreciating the extra support.
So that was Fox 5's Homa Bash earlier today at L'Enfant Plaza. Now, D.C.'s Attorney General, no fan of the extra National Guard members in D.C., and you can tell from the post on X that he wrote earlier today. Let us be clear, armed soldiers should not be policing American citizens on American soil. Instead of making D.C. more secure, it undermines public safety and endangers our democracy. It's D.C. today, but the same dangerous strategy can be deployed to occupy any community. That is DC's Attorney General reacting to the influx of National Guard members all across the city. Now, we're going to have much more on this story coming up in just a little bit. In the meantime, we do want to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Reverend Al Sharpton's plans to protest. We're also going to talk about a new reward trying to incentivize people here in Washington, D.C. to turn in potential criminals. Right now, it's 9:25. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our continuing coverage of President Trump's DC takeover. I'm producer Chris. We've been highlighting some of the new developments in this story over the course of the day, including the DOJ investigation into DC's crime stats. We also talked about the influx of National Guard members coming to the city and now patrolling Metro. One of the other new developments that we learned about recently comes from the U.S. Marshals Service, and you see their post on X on your screen. In the effort to make D.C. safe again, the U.S. Marshals announced a $500 reward for tips that lead to an arrest in Washington, D.C. You see they put a QR code and a website there for how you can submit a tip and get paid hundreds of dollars to help make D.C. safe again. Fox 5's Nana Sentu Obanzu is following up on this story. She's going to have much more tonight at 10 and 11 over on Fox 5. Now, also new today, we learned that civil rights legend and civil rights leader, I should say, Reverend Al Sharpton plans to make an appearance at Howard University this weekend. And he's doing that to announce a national drive in support of DC's Mayor Muriel Bowser. He'll also protest the federal takeover. He will deliver a sermon at Howard University's historic Rankin Chapel at 11 a.m. on Sunday. Now, this is we are just a little more than a week into what will end up being a planned 30-day takeover. It could end up going longer. There have been mentions of that, so we will be here every step of the way. I mentioned what our coverage plan is for tonight. Fox 5's Shamari Stone also out on the streets. He's in some of the neighborhoods that were mentioned as those high crime areas, but haven't necessarily seen the same show or federal surge in agents and police officers. So he'll have more on that coming up tonight at 10 and 11 with Fox 5 at 10 and 11 with Jim Lokay and Angie Goff. I'm producer Chris. Thank you so much for joining us again here on YouTube and Fox Local. we're going to take you live to Live Now, already in progress. Have a great night.
Advantage any way you please that happens with vote by mail as opposed to voting in person. And in fact, as you mentioned, right, he has said that we're the only country that still does this. That is absolutely false. There are countries in the in the EU and in other parts of the world that have taken advantage of vote by mail for quite some time. Germany, for example, has had it since the 1950s. Everyone in Switzerland, for example, is given a ballot by mail, and they're all given the opportunity to return it by mail, and about 70% of their population takes advantage of that. So to state